on the last episode of Dragon Ball Z.
All right, guys, I'm not gonna lie. I still really want a specialized LA Sprint. I especially want this color right here. Yo, welcome back to the channel, boys and girls. In today's video, I wanted to tell you guys about my brand new frame that you see behind me, which is a 2022 Specialized LA Sprint in disc brake version. I'm going to talk about the details of this frame, and I'm also going to give you guys 5 reasons why I chose to pick up this frame. Oh, and by the way, if you are new to this channel, my name is Patrick Lino, and I am a cyclist here in Chicago who builds bikes, who does bike reviews, and I want to say that I'm super duper pumped because we have finally reached over 5,000 subscribers on this channel, and all of that is thanks to you guys out there, the viewers, for supporting me over this last year and a half. I honestly thought that it was going to take me well into 2023 to hit 5,000 subs, but here we are today. What's today? Today's like the end of September. So without further ado, let's begin. So as you guys see behind me, this is the 2022 Specialized LA Sprint in the disc brake version. Unfortunately, they have killed off the rim brake model for the LA Sprint. So going forward, you'll only be able to get this frame in the disc brake version. The retail on this is $1,700 USD, which I did pay for with my own money. The size we have is a size 56, and the color that you see is a sand white mountains in satin red, gold, pearl. That is exactly what Specialized describes this color on their website. Now, let's go ahead and talk about just some of the highlights of this frame. Unless you guys have been living under a rock for the last few years, the LA Sprint is an aluminum frame, and it incorporates the Delucio Smartwell technology for strength and rigidity. I'm not going to go into any of the technical details on that. The geometry for this LA Sprint, it's identical to the Tarmac SO7, meaning that it's long and it's low. It uses the same carbon for both the fork and seat post as the SO7. And Specialized calls this the world's first alloy superbike, which in my opinion is a rather silly and a pretty presumptuous marketing claim to make, which coincidentally, a lot of what you are paying for in these high price frames from Specialized, you are in fact paying for their marketing. So just keep that in mind when you are purchasing from these big name brand bike companies out there. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is weight. Now, if you spend any time on the forums or anything like that, you know that the internet loves to roast this current new LA Sprint for being way too heavy. So let's see for ourselves, shall we? So the frame itself, as far as weight goes, now this includes the rear derailleur hanger, but it does not include the bolts or other metal hardware. The total weight on that is 1,521 grams. The uncut fork is 435 grams, and the seat post, including the saddle rail clamp, is 173 grams, which gives us a grand total for the entire frame set, 2,129 grams, which, yes, that definitely is on the heavier side. And just for the sake of further details and research, I did some other weight comparisons with some of the other frames that I've rode and reviewed in the past. So keeping this in mind, that for this LA Sprint, 2,129 grams. The Windspace T1500 frame, which I absolutely love, that came in with a grand total of 1,830 grams for the entire frame set. So that means that the LA Sprint is 298 grams heavier than the T1500 frame set. And I did some other ones as well. The Velo Build 168, which as we know is has the same identical geometry as the LA Sprint. The total frame set for that, including paint, all that stuff, it came in at 1,862 grams, so that is only 260 grams lighter than the LA Sprint. And then my 2019 LA Sprint rim brake version, the total frame set on that was 2,012 grams, so that was only 117 grams lighter than this outgoing version of the LA Sprint. So yes, is the newest LA Sprint heavier than it has been in the past? Yes, it has, but I've mentioned this in videos in the past, and this whole idea of total system weight. So that's the bike itself, the rider, and all the gear, all that stuff together. That is more important when it comes to weight than just necessarily pointing out specific weights of individual components. So for example here, say your bike weighs 7.9 kilograms, rider weight is 74 kilograms, You have 2 water bottles, which is 1.4 kilograms, helmet, gear, etc. All that stuff comes out to about 1 kilogram. That means you're looking at a total system weight of 84.3 kilograms. So even though this LA Sprint is 300 grams heavier than, say, a T1500 by Windspace, or even some of the other carbon fiber frames out there of a similar price, those 300 grams that it's heavier only accounts for 0.3% of the overall system weight. So it's not even 0.5%, it's not even a full percent, it's 0.3% of the whole entire system weight. So you have to ask yourself, is that really going to make a difference when you're out on the road? It's certainly not going to make a difference on flat terrains when you're at speed. It might make a difference when you're on all of the tallest of climbs in the world, but for regular recreational riders out there and even enthusiasts, those extra 300 grams honestly is not going to matter, especially knowing that you can get some killer high performing and lightweight wheels on here. And with some of the other carbon fiber components that you could put on this bike, there's really a lot of things you can do to bring that weight down with not a lot of extra money. Next up, let's talk about the 5 reasons why I chose this frame. I am really excited to build this up, and I'm gonna have an amazing, sweet group set that has finally arrived for me to go ahead to build up this bike. So reason number 1 why I bought this bike, I just really wanted to compare this frame set with some of the other bikes that I've been able to review. So at this point on this channel, I've been able to review the Windspace T1500, the VeloBuild 168, the VeloBuild 177, the Dangfu R12, my Yolio R6, what else? My Specialized LA Sprint, the rim brake version. All these bikes, and half of those probably aren't really bikes I would consider competitors to this bike, if I'm being honest. But nonetheless, I've been able to spend a little bit of time with some of these bikes that what you may consider sort of a budget to middle level priced bikes. Point number 2 why I chose this frame, dealer network. So at the time of this video, as far as I know, Specialized only has 2 official flagship shops outside of the state of California. And both of those 2 shops are here in Chicago, and they're only about a 15 to 20 minute drive from my house. So being able to go into these shops, these physical retail shops, being able to test out bikes if I want to, test out wheels, and building relationships with the employees and managers was a really big deal for me, especially moving up in price for a frame like this. So having that dealer network so close by to me specifically, it's not going to be the same for everyone, but for me, that was really important for me. It's not a necessity, but I do like that the stores are close by. Number 3, performance and stiffness. Being that this is an alloy bike, you can expect the bike to be a lot more stiff than some of the cheaper entry-level carbon fiber frames out there, especially the ones that I've tested in the past. And being that this is a performance-oriented frame set, I am looking forward to putting it through its paces to see if it does in fact perform the way that the marketing claims and description of this bike says on Specialized website. Point number 4, perceived quality and customer experience. So just the overall experience of purchasing this frame was an absolute delight. Being able to go into the shop, like I mentioned in point number 2, being able to speak to a human being face to face, being able to hang out. A lot of the employees I ride with on a weekly basis. So just my overall customer experience, it's nice to be able to speak to someone and to have your answers, and to have your questions, answered right away has been really helpful for me. And even just inside the box for this frame, Specialized included the rubber tubing sound insulator, which is a nice touch to keep the cables inside from clanking around once this bike is fully built up. They even pre-installed a chain protector. There's a manual for all the different components. And even looking at like the brake caliper mounts, they've been nicely faced. There's no paint overspray anywhere. And being that I am buying from Specialized, which is a major bike company, there's not going to be any problems with warranty, sourcing replacement parts, having to haggle with anyone via email. And they also have a really good crash replacement policy if I do happen to race this bike and crash it for whatever reason. And point number 5, I just really miss my rim brake LA Sprint, not because it's a rim brake bike. I just miss the riding dynamics and characteristics of an aluminum frame, something that I thought that I would really be able to sort of fix by going with like a VeloBuild 168, for example. Again, nothing wrong with that frame for the price and for what it is, but I think a part of me just always wanted to go back to the rim brake LA Sprint. And then when they announced it earlier this year, I was pretty excited for it, regardless of how much the frame weighs. I just like aluminum bikes. And even if the ride does happen to be pretty harsh on here, thankfully I'm at a point now that I have a lot of different wheels I can try. And go, I can either go tubeless or I can do latex or inner tubes, all these things to help mitigate some of that harshness. But I just love the overall riding characteristics and performance of an aluminum bike. Now, another thing I do want to mention here is the smart welds on the frame, because I know that this is also another point of contention along with the weight. The welds on here, they don't bother me at all, honestly. I really don't care. And being that I've already spent time with the rim brake version of the first gen LA Sprint, it's really a non-issue for me. Obviously, if it is an issue for you, then you don't have to get this frame. There are some other options out there, like from Canon, but for me and how I plan to ride this and the aesthetics of the bike overall, I don't have any problem with the smart welds. So the plans for this build is I am gonna hook it up with a really cool group set. I have some wheels I'm going to put on here. I'm just waiting for a few other components to arrive, then I can start the build process. So I think I'm going to leave the video at that for now, guys. Again, a big thank you to everyone out there for getting me to 5,000 plus subscribers in such a short time. I really appreciate the support. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave them down below, and I will check you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.